You were born with something extraordinary, a unique genius. It's that unmistakable place where your strengths and your passion collide, where impact meets fulfillment. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement for entrepreneurs who refuse to settle, who believe life is meant to be rich in purpose, alive with meaning, and overflowing with possibility. Here, we pull back the curtain on bold journeys, stories of courage, clarity, unapologetic authenticity. These are the visionaries who are building wealth, creating freedom, and changing the world by fully owning the gifts they were born to share. Because the meaning of life is to find your gifts and the purpose to use them fully. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chanowsky, and I'm super excited to have our guest, Angie Snow, with us here today. Angie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you and dive into some conversation. But before we do, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you, your story, and your journey?
Thanks. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I am a woman in the trades. That is me in a nutshell. But I didn't start in the trades. I actually started in education as a teacher. I taught elementary school for 7 years, and I absolutely loved it. Thought I would be a teacher my whole life. But that pivoted when my husband said we were going to buy a heating and air conditioning company. And so I quickly became an HVAC owner. Built a business with my husband, which has been so much fun. I've learned a lot over the years. And now I work for ServiceTitan as an industry advisor, where I'm teaching and helping other contractors build and run really successful home service companies. So it's been such a fun journey. And that's a little bit about where I'm at and what I'm doing right now.
And how many years have you and your husband had the HVAC business?
We bought our company in 2007. And so it's been about 17, 18 years now that we've been in the business. I was just laughing because my 18-year-old son is an installer for us. And he was out installing an air conditioner for someone that said, I remember when your dad installed our air conditioner like 15 years ago. And I was like oh my gosh, he was like 1 year old when we bought the business. And so it's so funny to think like we've had this business his whole life and now he's working in the business. It's really fun.
That is fun, like the evolution of business and family business and raising kids as entrepreneurs and what they see in that. My oldest are 25 and 23, and it's interesting to see what they've caught, of entrepreneur. And I think it's hard. It's so fun that he's working in the business now, but like see what they saw of running a business and really what it was like and what it's like to work for other people when all they've seen is designing a life yourself.
Right. And I think sometimes they look to the end and they're like, wow, you guys have been so successful, and they want that success immediately. And it's like, no, this took us a long time to get here. Lots of years of stress and worry and struggling and coaching and saving and scrimping to get to where we are now. And so a lot of times I think they've just kind of fast forwarded and it's like, this could be mine, but there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Yeah, exactly. They see the end and where it's at and the fruits of the freedom that you've built, but not the 18-year-old struggle of all those fears in the business.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fun.
Tell me a little bit about that, what happened to what you're doing now, but tell me a little bit about that journey of, in that journey of becoming and building that business in the trades and the struggle of entrepreneurism and then building it to where it is now so that you could, move on and work in another area of genius.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really interesting as I've reflected on this journey and where I started, where I came, what I was doing. I look back to 2007. I was a mother of 3 very young children, 6 and under at the time. And we were trying to establish ourselves in a new community. And, my goal at that time was transitioning from teacher to mom. And I saw owning a HVAC business as a way that I could be at home and be with my children more. And at the time, the business was small. It was my husband and myself, and we had 4 technicians. We were running it out of a little rental home. And so I was able to just be at home. But quickly, I don't think I understood what was involved in running a business at that point. The previous owners had just grown it to a certain level and stopped. And so
Mm.
once I jumped in with my husband and I saw what was possible, and you know, my genius was then cleared up, because I feel like my unique genius is learning and teaching. I love to teach. But now I'm not teaching anymore, other than teaching my children. I felt a little bit of a void, like I felt like I wasn't really progressing. And so we started joining best practice groups in the industry, and I really started learning about business. And it was fun because I got to go back into the student role and learn accounting, marketing, all of those things that it takes to grow a business, and bring those back and start implementing them. And it was so cool to watch this creation of this company and watch us grow and just really become a really important pillar in our community, and just be able to be part of developing that. It was very, very fulfilling to me, to the point where we had other contractors reaching out to us and saying, wow, how did you grow? How did you do this? How is your marketing working? It was fun because people were coming to us, and I felt like I had an opportunity to go back and start teaching them what I'd learned and start mentoring and helping. And it was great. But then I was like, man, maybe I should make some money while I'm doing this, because while I love helping others, I know that I've paid a lot of money to learn what I've learned over the years, hiring a lot of different coaches and hiring, being part of organizations, purchasing trainings. And so I thought, man, maybe I could put a dollar sign behind some of these services and help other companies, which is what I did. I created Snow Business Coaching in 2016. I started with customer service training. And I realized in order for me to really teach and help other companies, I needed to continue to uplevel myself. So I started taking more leadership courses and coaching courses, and I became John Maxwell certified. And it was such a fun growth experience for me to learn and then get to turn around and teach. So it's this ever evolving journey of learning and teaching for me.
And I love how you describe it, because you can tell as you light up that is your passion. That is your genius, your unique genius in the student and then teaching role. How can I, really absorb and learn this, take it, apply it in our business? And now what I did, how can I coach and teach others? And it's so fun seeing in a business, I say it just happened to be, it was purposeful, but it happened to be space, right? Whatever business you would land in. And that's what's fun to me about entrepreneurs, when people are like, how did you start that business? Why did you do that? A lot of times it isn't ever the business, right? It's not mowing the lawn, it's not HVAC, it's not the lighting, it's not my business, what I did. It's a vehicle that is the business that you land in that world. And then you're able to use your gifts and use that to transform and build the business. And that's what you did. You didn't know about those things, but you used your gifts to soak it up, learn, and apply.
Yeah, that's really kind of what it felt like. HVAC was never my dream. When I was little, it wasn't, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be HVAC. That's not, you don't hear that very often. I don't. And that probably is why we do have kind of a labor shortage right now in the trades. But, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to teach and help. But I loved my husband, and this was the path that he'd chosen for himself. He'd already been in the industry for 10 years. And so I really saw myself as just a support for him. But it wasn't until I got in there, I think, to pull back into what you're talking about with this genius, that is my natural state of what fills me and what helps me, feel fulfilled. That's my purpose, is to go and learn and teach. And so to be in a space that I was completely unfamiliar with, and to learn and soak and grow to a point where now I can teach others was really unexpected, but also it's really special to see that full circle. And now I'm always like, okay, what's the next area I can go learn and grow and teach? I can't sit still. It drives me nuts. I've got to always be learning and moving and taking on something else.
And challenging. Well, that's part of your genius, that learning and teaching cycle. And I'm not saying stagnant in it. But,
Yes.
that is a lot of times business owners get caught in the whatever it is they're doing. I mean, I say like stuck on the truck, or they're focused on that actual service of
Yeah.
the business, or in that, and that's what they have to do, or
Mhm.
following a blueprint of somebody else. And this is how I have to do it in my business. Like the
Right.
CEO is doing this, so I'm supposed to do XYZ. Instead of, you grew your business, and other people can, in following their passion and genius, and you get other people to do the other parts, like you and your
Right.
husband were partnered together. So he was the,
He was.
handled more of the technician and
Yes.
the operations skilled part of it. But if you were without your husband in that case, like you can hire out the things that you don't or aren't you, but you took
Right.
your gifts in building the business. And that's what I think a lot of people miss on, because they're trying to do it, follow
Yeah.
somebody else's blueprint, instead of like, this is how I can build a business. This is the difference that I can make in your HVAC business. And then you use that gift to go on and build a coaching business.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the people that I'm coaching now, I'm coaching business owners of HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies. Some of them get stuck with that, right? Because they have seen that blueprint of other companies, or they've signed up like, okay, this is the blueprint, I need to follow it. And they get stuck and they get burnt out and they get overwhelmed. And I have to remind them to like take a moment and let's review what you're doing in your role and like analyze this. Like, of those things, what are you really good at? What are the things that you are like gifted, you're talented, you're skilled at, whether you've learned it, acquired it, or it feels natural to you? And then second, what do you like doing? Because just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should be doing that in your business all the time, because it will not fulfill you anymore. Like, you have to like it. And then the third thing I have them evaluate is, what is the value of that to the business? If you were to hire someone or delegate, like how much of that, like of those things, like what would it cost to replace you to do these things? And so when you're analyzing your role and what you're doing, what are you good at? What do you like doing? And what's the value? To get in that most valuable position for yourself, you should be doing something that you like and you're good at, and have people do the rest for you.
Yes.
Which is where you come in, right?
Yes, that is the whole premise of our company. I was like, oh, I just love this. I'll use your soundbite in promoting, because to us, unique genius means, and that's like the three things in our logo, the three circles are very similar to that. Exactly what you said, your natural strengths, what you've developed, like things that you're really good at, things that you like, things that light you up, that actually feel good doing them. And then we say, but that it's in line with that like actually add value, that like take you closer
Yeah.
to the goals, align with your ultimate mission and vision. Because if it doesn't do all three of those, then you need to either delegate
Yeah.
or automate it. And people can get caught in all of them. Like you said, some people do get caught in just the first two, that I'm really good at it and I love doing it, so I'm just going to do more of it. But it is nowhere on your path to success.
Exactly. And I think that's where the sweet spot is, and really what's kind of led me through my own journey. Because as I grew the business and we were having fun, I did find my sweet spots. My sweet spot was marketing, because I love to be creative and I love to find new ways to get leads. I love to create content. It felt like very much like developing curriculum. So I'm trying all of these new ways. It was really fun. And my other was customer service, and actually communicating. There are parts of that that come natural to me, but other parts I've really had to work hard on becoming a better communicator, a better speaker, a better presenter. And to take what I've learned, the best way to get better at it is to teach someone. So to put that into a curriculum and start teaching others to develop their customer service helped me raise my game to a new level. And so it was, pulling those things that I liked and that I was good at, and then finding a way to, like you said, add more value and bring more value and really add value to other people by sharing those things.
Yeah. So when it isn't already inside your business, and I love that you have people do that exercise, because we do too. We call it the unique genius exercise. But when people are thinking like, how do you move your business forward? Or I don't even have a business yet. How am I moving my life forward? How do I use my unique genius in a business or to monetize it? Like, that's it. How do your natural strengths, what you like doing, how do you monetize that? How do you add value to other people's lives that people will pay you for?
Right.
And that's really the ultimate goal in life, I think. Like, how do you use your gifts and live a life doing things that you love to do and use those fully to add value to other people? And
Yeah.
naturally, the money will flow.
Mhm.
And you have to be intentional about it. But that's the ultimate when you can figure that out. And you figured out that, yeah, the zones in it that you wanted to run in. And then how did you move? You moved from the HVAC business into, coaching of like, okay, how do I now add more value through these gifts? And keep doing that. So let's move and talk a little bit about coaching journey, what you're doing with ServiceTitan now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just making me think, like, when you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life because you're just loving life. And that's really what that is. So in 2020, right after COVID, one of my colleagues in the industry, he actually used to be one of my salespeople, but now is the vice president of customer experience at ServiceTitan. His name's Tom Howard. He reached out to me and said, Angie, we're working on a project here at ServiceTitan. We're really trying to help a lot of these smaller contractors who are buying a powerful tool like ServiceTitan to help them operate their business, but they're struggling because they just don't know a lot of the basics and best practices of operating a business. And so I would love for you to come and help us put like a playbook together for contractors. And we would really just love your industry insights to do that. And so, of course, this is right up my alley. I get to create content and help teach it. And so, this was a big leap for me. I'd already been with my husband in our business for 13 years. I had been already exiting, doing some coaching, but still in a leadership role there, still leading and guiding. And so I knew this would be a big change. And I really had to talk to my husband about what this would look like to go full time to ServiceTitan instead of running the business and being more active there. And, he was very, very supportive of that. And we had really good systems and processes in place. And so we were able to do that and then able to actually sell our business a year later in 2021 to a private equity group, which was exciting. My husband is still hired on and still running the business today, but to see that business go from, purchase to sell again, and now we're even still operating it at a different level, that was really cool. But even at ServiceTitan, when I went there, I quickly moved roles and I became the director of training, which was a new fun thing for me as well. But it was not quite what I had envisioned, and I wasn't able to use all of my areas of genius there. I wasn't working with contractors one-on-one. Now I was being an administrative guide and leader to a lot of trainers, and I was able to adopt and adjust my role back into an industry advisor, where now I am coaching and training and working one-on-one with contractors again, even to the point where I'm able to do a little bit on the side as well, a little bit of extra CSR coaching for companies, leadership coaching, holding leadership group coachings. And so it's been nice to even working with a new company, I had to navigate my way back into that sweet spot where I felt like I was living my purpose and actually contributing in a really meaningful way.
I love hearing that, like you said, that navigation, that journey back into it, because you had realized that, because you had that awareness already, like, okay, I figured it out in the HVAC company. And then I figured it out as I wanted to go into my own coaching. And then I think that's where just so many people get stuck, not just entrepreneurs. Yeah. They're like, here's the then shiny object, and going over here, it sounds good. But then they don't continue to design their path. They think like, okay, I'm in this role and now I just need to, it's another blueprint situation. A lot of people would have entered that where you're at and said, okay, this is somebody else's blueprint and I'm just miserable. It's not what I thought it would be, and I'm just going to show up unfulfilled and not bringing my genius, instead of people realizing like it leaves everyone unfulfilled. It leaves ServiceTitan unfulfilled. The people that if you don't navigate your way back into using your genius, everybody gets left out.
Right. I think something that was really impactful for me, though, even though I was going through that hard, like I'm not in the right spot. I could feel it. I could feel It was not miserable. It was uncomfortable, but something that I've learned and I know and I help others learn is sometimes we have to be in those uncomfortable spots to help us figure out what is this spot for us? What don't I like about this? What is hard about this? But I forced myself to stay for a little bit because I knew I was learning and growing, and even that uncomfortable spot, I was, depending on my mindset and the approach I took, I could still learn and grow from it. And I did a lot. And a lot of the things that I learned there have helped me be an even better coach. So, wherever you're at in your journey, even if it is maybe not a good, doesn't feel like the right fit right now, take what you can and be the best you can in that spot, because those tools and that experience will help you as you're navigating and as you're finding that right spot. So, there's nothing that's ever a mistake, I will say. There's something to be gained from every experience.
That is true. There's always like lessons on the journey and reasons,
Yes.
stages that happen on purpose. And that's a good like conversation distinction of being uncomfortable and pressing yourself to the next level, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations is such an important part of growth. It's not just a cliche statement of growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. And I've been in a couple situations recently, like put myself in some personal development ones that I was like, wow, I guess I have not been like really uncomfortable in a long time. Not like that uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
And so it's a balance. Like we just talked about the fluffy, feel good, smiley, like you can design your life. Don't live somebody else's. You should love every day and do what you're good at and do what you love. And it's getting close to your goals. And like I said, that's all rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
But that's also mixed with uncomfortable, whether you're put in a situation, is it, or all of entrepreneurship is if you're going to grow, you're growing through periods where you feel like you have it all together and it is those rainbows and butterflies. But if you're not constantly getting yourself in situations where you're scared and it feels, you're testing yourself, then you're not growing either.
Right. And I think that is where you have to be intentional about your growth and getting very clear about what that end goal looks like, or maybe even just the next step, because sometimes that's really hard for people to visualize. I don't know what my end goal is. But visualize like a year from now, where would you like to be? Visualize 5 years from now, just get an idea, because if you don't have some type of a North Star to guide you, you will just stay stuck. You'll stay complacent and you won't navigate into some of those uncomfortable areas that will help you grow. I remember when I was getting ready to start Snow business coaching, I'd already had my company for 10 years. I had all these contractors coming to me and I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I've got to up level my skills and my knowledge. And about the same time, I had a really dear friend pass away. And it was really it was one of those things where she was my age. We did all of our kid things together. We carpooled together. She and I went to college together. We did dinner groups and girls trips together. And so when you have some of these type of life events happen like this, to me, it was a wake up call. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't just be playing little anymore. Like I know I'm still here. I have something to offer and I need to get intentional about it and not play small anymore. And so, yeah, you sign up for those self-development courses and seminars that get you out of your comfort zone, and you're making videos and you're doing all of these things that just feel very vulnerable and very awkward and very raw. But as you do that, you're refining yourself and you're growing and you're building that confidence that, yeah, I can do these things. But it was something I had to get intentional about. And as hard of a thing as that was for me to experience her death and see her leave her young family behind, like that was such a hard thing. I look at that and I am just so grateful, because that was kind of my turnaround aha moment. Like, you can do more with this, Angie. You can't play small anymore. You've got a life, you've got time. What are you going to do with it?
That's so impactful. And you can tell, I mean, you kept pushing yourself and still are to the next level, because some people can see like you guys had a successful business. You were growing it. You were doing better than most people in the trades, right? You already had a successful business, but continuing to know that like you had more within you, more potential that you could unlock, more ways that you could serve others.
Yeah.
And one more point you said at the beginning of that, that I think business owners struggle with, is that end point. Like you said, having a North Star. I think a lot of people, when they're like, what are your goals? And they say somebody else's goal, like we want to hit $1 million, we want to hit 5 million, 10 million, 15, because that's what it sounds like to be successful in, whatever trade you're in and you're trying to be. But you do really have to find like what stirs your heart in a North Star. Like, what is it you want your family to look like? What freedom, what vacations do you want to go on? What do you want your life to look like?
Right.
Because a lot of those things don't resonate, and sometimes you can't see them. Our world changes so quickly. I'm sure you'd agree in, where you're at in your role now, me now, like, it's popular in success things to be like, what's your 5-year goal? And I know now that I'm like, well, I can't even imagine. I'm going to say what my 5-year goal is, but I don't know. There's going to be something so new that I didn't even know that path or thought existed. I hadn't met my husband 2 years ago. But knowing that you might not know the way or that number goal, you might not know how these things are going to come into fruition, and letting go of that, but having this North Star of wanting to do like big things in the life that you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like one of the biggest changes that I made at that point was when I was trying to figure out what my North Star was, because I just knew I needed to do something different. I knew I wanted to help contractors. I didn't know how to build a coaching business. I knew I could find people who did, but I knew there was something important about continuing to take action every single day. And so for me, in my true teacher mindset, I'm coming up with frameworks and curriculums and things that I can do. And so I came up with this intentional 10, with the word 10, intentional 10. I had my friend who was a online marketing expert help me put up a web page, and let's help people just think about 10 areas in their life where they can be very intentional. And the exercise that I put in place was to take 10 minutes every morning, 1 minute on each of these 10 areas, and just think about, how will I be intentional in this area today? And there will be days where you're not intentional in some of these areas, and days where you have a lot that you need to focus on. So for example, relationships is one. What relationships do I need to be intentional with today? In my job, in my career, where do I need to be intentional? Spiritually, what do I want to focus on to be intentional in a spiritual ways? And we go through these 10 areas, and you just take a moment to review and think about, how am I going to live an intentional life today to help me get closer to the person I want to become? Because I can see the person I want to become. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I know who I want to become, whether that's a better leader, a better mother, stronger in your organization, building your business to a certain level. And it helps you gain that clarity when you realize who you want to become, and the things you should be doing, and the actions you should be taking each day to become that person.
I love this. I want to be in your program. I want you to coach me.
Yes.
I love the pillars and the areas of life. And we have those in one of our handbooks too, because I had a coach, I think I only had 8 of them, but he described it as, in those pillars that you're asking people to be intentional of. And I love that, like pausing in them each day. I'm going to add that into my life. Of how do you pause in each of those? Like, how do I need to be intentional in each of these areas?
Mm-hmm.
You framed it like, you can see that I want to be the next best version of myself. So what is, even if I don't know what 5 years version of myself, like what is the next best version of myself require in this area? But he described the different areas as pillars in our lives, and that if, so often we get so focused on our business and like taking our business to the next level, that we're not paying attention to how we need to be intentional in our relationships or intentional in our spiritual life. And no matter how far you get with one pillar, if you ignored one of them, it's like a building block or a teeter tot. If the pillar falls, they all fall,
Right.
No matter if you built that business to 25 million, if you let your relationships that were most important to you fall, eventually it will cause it all to crumble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's a good point there.
Yeah. a visual like he had, and it's like I always see I don't think I do a good enough job at painting. You know, when someone draws you a great visual, I see in your life now that I'm always like, oh.
Well, it's kind of the foundation. And I look at it as kind of the visual that I think about when I look at this is you've probably seen like the pie chart version before, and how some pieces are out and other pieces are low, like rank yourself a 1 to 10 and fill in the pie piece. What I've noticed in the programs that I've taught where we focus on these 10 areas, and taking a different area each week and just being really intentional, when you start making progress in one of these areas, the rest start to fill out too. It's like, it's a momentum. Like you start, when you get intentional with relationships, your business can't help but get better. Your financial status gets better. Your home life, like all of these things start to expand, and you just increase your capacity, even when you're only focusing on one area. I think it's hard if you get like in a little bit of a wedge stuck, and you're just not really, when you're not looking at all the others, you can get really stuck. But if you can be intentional about all of them, make a little bit of a difference, it is like this ripple, and it just continues to expand, which is so cool, because you're like, wow, I'm feeling healthier and I'm doing all these things, and that wasn't even my goal. You know what I mean? Like you see it in all areas of your life when you're like, I was really only focusing on relationships this week, but it's cool that this has happened in my money, this has happened in my home, this has happened with my personal development. Like it's just so cool to see how it really expands in all areas.
Yes, because you are like bringing that intention to it, and that
Yeah.
intention of being, like you said, that next best version of yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You've got all kinds of great exercises.
Exactly. I know, it's a lot of fun.
Our viewers will take those, but I absolutely love that. So, okay, so where are we at in your journey? ServiceTitan. How do you feel you navigated this position in living in your unique genius, and how do you feel like you're living your unique genius out now, and what's next?
Sometimes I wake up, Angela, and I am just like, pinch me. Like, is this really my life right now? Because I work for ServiceTitan. For those who are not familiar, ServiceTitan is the 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 best operating system for the trades. I mean, it does all of your customer information. It helps you with invoicing. It helps you with scheduling, dispatching, price books. It keeps track of your employees. Like it's kind of an all-in-one system, and more companies are adopting it and using it. And so it's such a wonderful platform for me. And part of my purpose and mission is to be able to help as many contractors as I can. And so to be able to be part of an organization like that and have opportunities to get to teach and train contractors from literally all over the world. Now we just launched in Australia, which is so cool, is really exciting for me. And so I just absolutely love the team there. And I appreciate the way that they value my industry experience as they're building this product. They're coming to me and saying, would this have worked well in your business? Or what should we have changed? Does the wording make sense? And I just feel so valued, that I feel like my opinion is so valued there. And so I love what I do there. And it's really given me the opportunity to just meet so many incredible people from, like I said, from around the world. And I've gotten to visit their shops and work with their CSRs and work with their leadership teams. And it's just opened a lot of doors to help me further my impact. And so what's next for me? If I think about, gosh, what's going to be next? I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. I love what I do there. I love the people, and I love where we're going with ServiceTitan. The tool is so powerful. It's helping so many companies have those insights. It was really kind of in my own business, it was what I needed to have those actual real-time insights to make good decisions for my business. I didn't have that before. It was, as a leader, if you don't understand your KPIs, your reports, how your company's performing, it's really hard to make the right decision for your company. So to have a system like that in place for us, we were able to instantly make good decisions, better decisions for our team, our employee, our overall business direction. And now to be able to help other people do that is super fulfilling.
Such a powerful tool. It is, like you said, it does it all. Not like so many people that if you aren't using it out there in the trades and you're trying to Far too many people trying to piece too many different softwares together. They're like, don't talk, and this doesn't do this.
Yes, they don't talk to each other well. And it's so to have something all in one, people are growing faster than ever before and meeting goals faster than ever before when you have the right tools in place. And that is the tool if you're in a home service.
Yeah, so don't fight it. That's another tool out there. Like, use the tool. Stop trying to create and use AI to make your own wonderful solution. Don't spend your time trying to create something that is already out there and create it. You can go use your unique genius. Use somebody else's that are the perfect system, so that you know the numbers, know how to organize everything else in your business, the tools. That is the blueprint we're telling you to use. When we said not to follow somebody else's blueprint for your life, here's the blueprint you should use.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love how you walked through like this open door. Again, as you walked in this journey, like sometimes when you're a business owner yourself and you have all this freedom and there's this door that opens and you kind of can't see, like, do I want to go into somebody else's company?
I know.
What is that? But you described so perfectly what it has become. It opens, walking through that open door gave you such a larger platform to impact so many more lives and to be introduced to so many more people in the industry, and just magnify what you could learn, what you were exposed to in the industry, and then put a huge magnification on the amount of lives you could that you wouldn't have been in front of. So the people that you could impact and influence, both directly and indirectly, as you're giving your thoughts and experience to the software and the development, and as your training creates a ripple effect through the industry. So it's so awesome to see, your bravery and courage in walking through an open door that led to impacting so many more lives.
Yeah, I think back to what you just said. Like, I didn't know what my life, it's so hard to see 5 years into the future, right? Like, what is my life really going to be like in 5 years? Because I think even 5 years ago, when I did consider leaving my small business to go to a huge corporation like ServiceTitan, there's a lot of different things. It's even just from being a contractor to now having to understand SaaS, software as a service, and what is all the new terms. And it was really kind of a scary step, but I felt safe doing it because I always had my business to go back to if it didn't work out. And so it didn't feel like as big of a risk, but my gosh, I could have never imagined it being where it is now. And seeing the progression in technology and the progression in being able to work virtually. Working for a company like ServiceTitan was never on my radar because I live in Utah. ServiceTitan's in California. How was that even possible before COVID and before remote working was such an accepted thing and more widely available? So it's fun to think about, gosh, what's it going to be like in 5 more years? What other things will be available with technology and just with, how everything is growing and changing so rapidly all the time.
It is. It is changing so rapidly. Hold on. And I think that of like, I don't even know that it's going to be recognizable in 2 years, things that we think are normal and function in our businesses and lives and the way we do, how they change. So it's more and more that you have to be able to embrace the unknown, step
into it, and have the courage to do it for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I knew this time was going to go fast. It has been so fun sharing this conversation with you. As we leave, is there any more? You've given us so many nuggets. I feel like we've hit on this like great little lesson for business owners, but any parting thoughts that you want to leave the audience with?
I think if I could leave any extra nuggets, I think it would just be the fact that we are always evolving, we're always learning, we're always growing, and to be intentional about that. Create a vision for yourself. Think about where you want to go, what you want to do. I see so many business owners and people that just feel stuck. And with the solutions we have in technology, with the services we have, I know even myself being able to be a partner with you guys in Unique Genius and having extra help with me and what I'm doing, like some of these things can be very life-changing and you don't have to feel stuck. There are solutions. So go continue to learn and improve and reach out and network, and you'll be able to get to whatever makes you feel happy and whatever brings you joy and helps you feel like you have a purpose in your life. Take action.
Take action. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Angie. Like I said, it has been great to share this space with you. I know that I took away so much that I'm going to implement, so I know the audience did too.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
And thank you, audience. It's been another episode of Unique Genius Podcast. We'll see you next week.